do in a place called Naples, Florida, and they said, oh, we bought this site in a gated community, and we want you to do a house. I said, gated community, that sounds like a problem. I don't know if it's going to be okay. And they said, oh no, we told them that you're going to be the architect and everything's fine. And I said, well, send me the regulations on what you could build there. And they sent me the regulations, and it said that all the houses had to have a 1 in 12 slope, like that. So I said, well, it's very nice, but I don't think you should choose me as an architect because I don't know how to do a house like that. He said, oh, don't worry, they'll accept whatever you do. I said, no, you don't understand. It's a regulation. You have to follow the regulations. You can't just do what you want. So I thought for a while, and came up with 1 in 12 slope, but it did this. And we took it to the authorities, and they said, no, you don't understand, that's not what we mean. It's supposed to do this. I said, but it didn't say so. So they couldn't object it, but afterwards they changed the regulations. It's not possible to do this anymore. But it's a beautiful house. It sits right on the water, overlooking the inland waterway, and light comes in from a variety of directions. And you can see, because of the form of the roof, you get skylights coming in as you move through it. You can look out through the breezeway, through open spaces to the water beyond. It's one of my favorite houses, but a lot of them are. And I go back after years and find that they take on a life of their own, because I designed this house Texas size, really big. Only in Texas would someone have a house this large, and it's for one person. And then after the house was finished, he got married to a woman who had a young child, and so we had an art collection, and he had art almost everywhere. And so after he got married with a young child, he moved to a house he bought right next door. And I said, well, why did you do that if you like the house? He said, well, I want to come here and use it, but I'll live with my family in a more conventional house. So now he's given the house and his art collection to the Dallas Museum of Art, and it's now an extension of the museum, and it's used for public occasions and all kinds of events. And he goes there, he spends his day, and then returns through the bushes to the house on the side. But art is throughout the house, and you see art inside and out. That's really part of the experience of being there. As you can see, it's a very, very large house, even for it's a Texas scale. But one thing leads to another, and we were very fortunate to be asked to do 2 buildings on the Hudson River, 2 residential buildings overlooking the water on the west side of Manhattan. And these 2 buildings have basically 1 apartment per floor on the smaller building, 2 apartments per floor on the larger buildings, and really changed the whole development of the building on the west side of Manhattan, and led to a lot of other good things happening, including a 3rd building, which we were asked to do. Having 3 buildings in a place like this really creates a gateway from the West Village to the Hudson River. And the park, now that is very heavily used along the water's edge, is really a wonderful linear park. And from the terrace of various apartments, you can look out to the water, see the boats, and see what's going on around. We've had, over the years, some work in Germany, and this is a small museum in Baden-Baden. And as you can see, it's really an extension of an existing Kunsthalle, and there's a bridge that attaches it to the 19th century building, which remains. And this building is basically for contemporary art, and the man who financed the building actually gave the building to the city, but it houses his own collection, which eventually he'll give to the city as well. And as you move through the building, you can look at art, you can sit down, you can see the changing exhibitions, you move from one space to another, you can see people on different levels, look out to the view, and it's really quite a small museum, as this one is, also in Rolandseck, also in Germany. It sits high on the hill above the Rhine River, and because of the location where they wanted to build the museum, it's an unusual way of getting there, because you park your car at the bottom of the hill, you go into the old railroad station, which used to be an exhibition space, you go down under the railroad tracks, through the tunnel, and then into a bridge, and then out to the museum. And so you come up an elevator across this bridge, you look out to the Rhine River, and also from the exhibition spaces, you look out to the views all around. We've worked for the United States government on a number of courthouses, and this is one in San Jose, and the chief judge says, I want a dome. A dome. Well, it's a courthouse, we need a dome. So we built a dome, as you can see here, but it's a glass dome, and it's actually a public space that's used for graduation, for weddings, all kinds of public events. And the courthouse building is basically an office building, but the dome is part of the public spaces. At Cornell University, where I went to architecture school, we were asked to do some laboratory buildings at the university, which you see here. And again, they're basically laboratory spaces or kind of cellular spaces, but there is some public space, and you come across the path into the lobby, you can go up into the laboratories, or you can go through and out to the play fields. Because of the orientation, the sunshades shield the bright sunlight in the afternoon. The atrium space, again, like in many of the other buildings, is top lit, but it's also a public space. It's used by the university for a variety of functions. In Brooklyn, New York, at Prospect Park, we recently completed an apartment building, which you see here. And it's actually a rental building, unlike most of the other buildings, which are condominiums. And the rents there are very reasonable because it's in Brooklyn, but it has an openness and a transparency as well. This is a building in Saint Denis, an office building, which you pass on the way to the soccer games. So everyone sort of sees the building. And originally it was designed so that two companies could share the building, and they would all go through, enter into the atrium. One company would go to the right, another company would go to the left, and then they would be separate. But what happened, and this, you can never tell, what happened was, soon after the building was finished, they didn't sell it to two companies, they sold it to one company. So it's really one company, now it's located in the building. Over the years, we've done lots of competitions. I keep saying no to competitions, but somehow that's what we do. And this was a competition for an opera house on the water in Bonn, where people came through the park, through the building, out onto a terrace, and then to the water's edge. I remember when we went to present the competition, they said, well, what is a lobby? Why do we need such a big lobby? He said, because when people come to a concert and hear Beethoven, and then afterwards want to come and talk to their friends, you can have all kinds of things happen here. And it's not just about the interior of the hall and bringing light into the interior of the hall, but also about the public space of the building. Well, some of you may have been to Rome in the last few years and visited the Arapacci. The Arapachi is a 7th century monument housed in the building that you see here on the left-hand side of the screen. It was originally located in a different part of Rome, but Mussolini decided that he wanted it placed here in a building which used to be on this site, but was falling apart. The air pollution was destroying the monument. There was no way to properly heat the building, so we had to build a new building over the existing monument, keeping the monument in place. And I said when we began, since Mussolini moved the monument here, why don't we just move it back to where it was? It would be a lot easier than building a new building around it. But they said, no, we must keep it here because it's too fragile to move. So we created a plaza in front of the building. Of course, it's being Rome, a fountain where the kids could come out and put their shoes in the water, and then you go into the building and you see the monument, which is lit from above as well as from the side. And then after you walked around it and seen it, you go through exhibition space, which has all kinds of artifacts from that building related to the Arapachi. And there's also an auditorium, and you can look out to the city and see views of Rome all around. Now, when we finished, I thought this is the way it would be. But now, the city has decided to take the highway that you see here and put it underground so that the building will extend this will be a park, and the building will sit on a park that goes right to the river's edge. And I hope that happens relatively soon, but in Rome, you never know. Also in Italy are these condominiums on the beach in Gesualdo. Gesualdo is across the water from Venice, and it's a place where people come from Bulgaria, Romania, Albania, and they have a weekend condominium here, some low-rise, as you can see, organized around a swimming pool where you have a private space and then you want into the public space. Everyone has a little balcony, and you can step out on your balcony and talk to your neighbors, and you can see across from one condominium to another. And then as a next step of this project, there will be a hotel that's built along on the water's edge. So this is a view of the rendering of the hotel. And the hotel, as you can see, has this great view of the sea. You see the date on this, it's 1996. And this is a bridge in Alessandria, which we worked on with Dante Benini, who's here. And there was a bridge here, and the bridge was destroyed. And it was the only way to go from one side of Alessandria to the other side. And so what we did was we made a bridge which is really two parts. One is for the automobile, and the other lower part is pedestrian. So it's a pedestrian bridge. You can go and walk and sit there, and the cars can have their own way across the bridge. And we learned just 2 days ago that after 13 years, it's now going to go ahead. In Italy, things move slowly, but they happen. When they do, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful for Alessandria to have this bridge, and it's a thrill for us to see it built. And also, it has lights, and you can walk along the promenade along the river and see it. It's wonderful.